Okay, recording started. Hello and most welcome to H 1871. And we will today continue with the Retching on Rome. Vomitous, Loathing, and Visceral Disgust in Affect Theory and the Apocalypse of John. Should mention here, I'm sitting currently on a bus that is very shaky. The bus driver is maybe a bit too, frivolous with his movements. But I've been able to screen share, and I also know more effectively how one admits one to enter. And even I know how to put the screen on the side. Last time we mentioned the re-entering and the re-penetration. We saw that re-entering is the same as the Klein bottle movement from inside to outside. And how this perpetual movement makes sure that meaning continues, that words, concepts are, so to speak, invigorated by the meaning that only doing can give to them, only in acting. You could also call that stretching out or reaching out. And as we mentioned in 1870, the Francis Lynn paper, we went through the 4 rules, and Dr. Lundell kindly added Lynn added a 4th rule, and that is the rule of FR. Very important. Makes it possible to cast words into their true connections, the true context of them. The first rule, of course, being the ostensive rule, that is very similar to the Augustinian pointing out of a word. The second is words that can be given explanation or an explicit definition. The most common of these, or the most mentioned of these, are usually the definition for a bachelor, an unmarried man. The third one is what role a word take in the language game. Maybe we can make the text a little bit bigger. I would need that, thinking that I'm on a mobile here. Maybe even a bit more. The third rule is the game rules or the grammar of language, which is, well, almost ever. It's implicit. You cannot talk about it. You can't even mention it. And the fourth one here mentioned in Get Up of rules. But that's framing the reference. That, I think, settles this, the language going pretty neat. I'm really happy with this fourth adding. Makes it more healthy. I'd say in that it all comes together quite neatly. Or what is a prostitute? A sex worker, but a circulating object. Indeed. We can continue where we left off. It helped me to see exactly where that was. The retching room. Oh, that's where we were. So I'll continue where we left off. And I will continue only a bit more until I reach the limit of seasickness. For what is a prostitute? A sex worker, but a circulating object. A sex object, as we say, one that circulates from one hand to hand. And that circulation is productive of effect. As Melissa Dittmore observes, the world's oldest profession is also the world's oldest form of effective labor. Yeah, well, indeed it is. Effective labor is work that aims to evoke specific behaviors and sentiments rather than being merely about the production of a consumable product. The work assigned to Revelations 4 by her, John, paradoxical work for a sex worker, to be sure, is that of inculcating boundaries respecting behavior and boundary squeamish sentiments in the book's audience. For Revelation is a border document designed to police the frontier between pure and impure, clean and unclean, as we have seen. Revelation is a boundary book. That is the boundary, the border between purity and impurity in revelation itself, clean or dirty. Ahmed, retrieving Julia Kristeva's powers of horror. Enables us to think through this odd-sounding but significant question. For at issue here is the abject. Everything the human subject must exclude or expel. Perhaps we cannot easily live with too much vivid awareness of the fact that we are made of sticky and oozy substances that will all too soon decay. To establish and maintain its proper borders. In objection, however, the border itself is transformed into an object. The object that make us sick to the stomach is a substitute for the border. On the one hand, it is transformation of borders into objects that is sickening. Like the skin that forms on milk. On the other hand, the border is transformed into an object precisely as an effect of disgust, spitting, vomiting. Border objects are hence disgusting, while disgust engender border objects. The border in Revelation then is and must be dirty, as filthy and loathsome as everything it is designed to keep out. Loathing, an item of food, a piece of filth, waste or dung. The spasms and vomiting that protect me or hold at bay. It transforms, coagulates, or congeals into metonymic objects. Two in particular. The city Babylon is a border town in Revelation, a refuge for everything illicit and unsavory. Demons, unclean birds, and animals, spillers of innocent blood, border towns are also intimately associated with prostitutes and the metonym for the city Babylon, itself a metonym for the border, is the prostitute Babylon. The whore must be the ultimate object of disgust in Revelation's affective economy. Because she stands in for the unclean city, which itself stands in for everything that Revelation's border are designed to keep at a distance, to hold separate, to object. Eating and vomiting. The horse illicit food. In her hand, a golden cup filled with the ligmaton. She was drunk with the blood of the saints. No less than her illicit sexual activity makes her a hyperbolic object of disgust. Just as the same combination of illicit food and illicit sex earlier made Jezebel an object of disgust. Nauseous food taken into the body. Food loathing is perhaps the most elementary and most archaic form of abjection. I experience a gagging sensation, and still farther down, spasms in the stomach, and all the organs shrivel up, provoke tears and bile, increase heartbeat, cause forehead and hands to perspire. Rome. To abject something is literally to cast something out or to expel something. One important way in which such expulsion is effected is through the performativity of speech acts. The exclamatory speech act, "That's disgusting," for instance, can function as a form of vomiting. As an attempt to expel something whose proximity is felt to be threatening or contaminating. In the woman Babylon's case, the abjecting speech act is emblazoned permanently on her forehead. Babylon, the great mother of whores and of the earths, le teligmaton. The adhesive label generates the object that it names. And generates it as an object of revulsion. Blech. Yeah. Does the sticky sign of abomination permanently affixed to Babylon signify that she is perpetually in the process of being vomited. John spewing up the sweat and sour prophetic scroll he had earlier been compelled to eat.
Nummy, nummy, nummy.
The situation. I gave birth to myself amid the violence of sobs of vomit. Is more complex than that. First, consider the simple case of Jezebel. Vomiting involves expelling something that has already been digested and hence incorporated into the body. Incorporated.
Incorporated. Limited incorporated.
Incorporated. Jezebel, more than Babylon, is the figure in Revelation of an object of disgust already lodged in the body. The social body of Christ followers in the city of Roman Asia. That needs to be vomited, expelled, abjected. And since the social body has been contaminated, a communal vomiting is what is in view. For Jezebel too is a production of speech acts that, beginning with a scorn-saturated name, amount to the exclamation, "That's disgusting." Bleh. And these speech acts are also designed to create a community Bound together through the shared condemnation of a disgusting object. And I think that is an act. Point to stop, 1871. We're presently on page 522. It's the 18th today, 18th of October. And the time is 10:50. No, 9:50. Let's go to some quotes here. First, let's go to put some soothing water on my second here. We go all the way back to page 1519, if you like. Yeah. In the beginning here, very first lines I read. A sex object, as we say, one that circulates from hand to hand. And that circulation is productive of effect. And then there's a mentioning from Melissa Dittmore. And she says, the world's oldest profession is also the world's oldest form of effective labor. And the circulating thing, the circulation of labor, it's the interpenetration once more. It's going around. Unless there is some sort of roundness instead of the linear. We mentioned earlier in the same text that revelation is not strictly to be linearly read. If I remember correctly, that was also the point of Borkum. Instead, it's a perpetual exiting and re-entering. One can also talk about an inherent wave. It's another way of seeing it. A wave that perpetually furthers the meaning. This is a term originally also coming from Da, but he had the power to repeat something but slightly different each time, not being exactly the same. I think Callie, you remember the Kanya example? For every time you differently repeat the word Kanya, it strengthens, becomes stronger. And that it is slightly different each time is very important. It builds up the rule, as we also learn from Francis Wylin. A rule cannot be followed only once. An important site from PI. It is in the repetition, and the repetition can almost be enumerated. The more it is being repeated, the stronger it grows. It is in itself a strengthening process. All strong objects are in that way iterated. The cosmos itself is a constant iteration. As we learn from Benoit Mandelbrot, fractality is a repetition on each size level. On each zooming out of the filigranate structure of the common fern, Ornwunke. For each time, there is a differentiating structure. That is the iteration. Size is built not of an idea of an outside observer, a panopticon. No, fractality is building size by iterating, and that gives the effect of zooming in and zooming out. I can recommend one of those videos you can find on YouTube where a zooming out of the Mandelbrot set or the zooming in of a Mandelbrot set is made automatically, so to speak, by a differing in fractality. We can continue on the next page, 520. Actually starts already on, it's the last paragraph, the last little line on 519. To establish and maintain its proper borders. In objection, however, the border itself is transformed into an object. The object that makes us sick to the stomach is a substitute for the border. On the one hand, it is the transformation of borders into objects that is sickening. On the other hand, the border is transformed into an object precisely as an effect of disgust, spitting, vomiting. We mentioned earlier the important role of the anus. The anus is the point of exit, the exodus to the exterior. Vomiting is a reversal of the entering mechanism of the mouth. The perpetual re-entering and exiting is what makes the border. And this is interesting. This is very close to Terry Marx-Charlow building of borders by fractality. So borders, and as I mentioned previously, size are made from exiting and entering. There are no sharp definitions, as we mentioned so many times before. That is an illusion. They need to be made. For there to be borders, and doing must come in hand. And that doing, actual doing is the exiting, entering. Interpenetration, as Diego Lucio Rappaport called it. And I think this is a very important questioning of the idea of sharp distinctions being there, not made by anyone, being by themselves, and say, oh, there's a very sharp border here between that concept and that concept. Especially Wittgenstein has shown that to be largely nonsensical. A border is something that is perpetually being made. And it can only be made by simultaneous exiting and entering. And speaking of vomiting, I'm pretty close to that border myself. Dr. Lundahl, please come and join. See if I can hear you first.
Yes. So
Yeah, do you hear me?
No.
Book of Revelation, a wonderful book. I can agree with that because literally it's a boundary book because it's the last book of the Bible.
Oh yeah,
So,
on top of it, yeah.
However, I do have some reservations on his on Moore's affirmation on page 520.
Okay, indeed,
So
go on.
So he says like this: the city of Babylon is a border town revelation. But let's say that Babylon is a symbol for Rome, as many scholars affirm and More himself also believes. Then how can it be a border town? Rome was not a border town, it was the center of universe, so to say.
Yeah, of the empire.
Indeed, so it's contradictory. And let's say in every empire, let's say for the Nazis, Berlin was the center of the empire, of the Nazi empire. But however, 1945, after the fall of Berlin, it became a border town actually, quite literally.
It did actually, yeah.
Especially during the World War, during the Cold War. And I think it's a good comparison to Babylon. Okay, it's the center of the empire, absolutely. But it then becomes, at its fall, a border town. That must be emphasized.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're getting at.
So, because the angel shouts there, fallen is Babylon the Great. It's only then, after the fall, it becomes a border town. So it's a movement, of course. It's not always a border town. It goes from center to the border. Like every empire who has seen glory and fall, there is it goes from being the center of the universe to becoming a border city.
To be fallen.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's what I wanted to say today. Hans, if you want to add something, please.
Well, I'm just gonna sum up a bit here. I'm a bit amazed that it managed to make something on this very bumpy bus.
Mm.
And it's going to be interesting to see how the sound turns out. But apart from that, it's interesting we can compare the two ideas of border. One border is one just existing without anything participatory. Nobody's doing anything, and it's supposed to be a border between concepts and things, signs signified, intension extension, as I learned in linguistics. I think that is a bit nonsensical. It's not participatory. We need things that act. That sort of, as you say, reaches out to make a border only when there are happenings. I think Berlin became a border because it was invaded by the Russians. The Soviet Union was.
Yes.
A sort of doing behind it. Even borders are mainly participatory. And so is the difference in size.
I could add something. As you know, Babylon, city of Babylon, majority of scholars think it's a symbol for Rome, and more is among them. But a minority of scholars, and this was the paradigm in the 19th century, that Babylon was symbol for Jerusalem.
Yeah, you mentioned
that?
Earlier.
Yeah. So for Engels, for instance, he was following only the scholars of his century. Babylon was Jerusalem.
Yeah, I remember now.
And this is actually a movement, I would say. I am the only scholar who would affirm that Babylon is both Jerusalem and Rome.
Oh, very good.
This is like the rabbit and duck. It depends on how you see it. Sometimes it looks like Babylon looks like Rome, absolutely, and then sometimes it looks like Jerusalem. And it's also, let's say that you were the Roman emperor. Sometimes for him, Jerusalem would be like a border town. And in that case, More is right. Then, from that point of view, Babylon is a border town. But then you have to adapt that paradigm that Babylon stand. Okay, then you accept that Babylon paradigm that Babylon is Rome. In that case, yes, Jerusalem is a border town and Babylon is a border town. Excuse me. I think you get my point. So it depends. So there's a movement, of course. What is so you could say that in my paradigm that Babylon is both Jerusalem and Rome.
It's a happening.
Yes, and it's a movement. Sometimes so Babylon is both center of the universe, so to say, and so it's both a border. And in this case, as it's we had the first century, we could say Jerusalem was definitely a border town. Let's say because the Roman Empire was the ruling empire, and Jerusalem was only a border town. In that case, then the affirmation is correct. The Babylon is a border town. The revelation, yes. So it depends on the point of view, so to say. Duck or rabbit. And I would
Depends on the
speak
point of
of the
view.
rabbit and duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. In real life, rabbits are kind, but ducks can actually sometimes be aggressive. So I would compare
yeah.
a rabbit to Jerusalem, because the Jews, they were not great warriors at that time. Instead, Romans, they were the aggressive, great warriors.
Aggresses the occupants,
They were like the
colonizers.
ducks. They were like
Yeah.
the ducks. So Babylon
Indeed.
is Babylon is both the duck Rome, but also the rabbit Jerusalem.
Oh. I like that. I like that. Very beautiful trope. I think we'll end there. What do you say, Kalle?
Yes. Let's end there.
Excellent. This was incredible. It was actually manageable. I think we even made an hour here on the bus. I don't even know that's possible.
Yes. Don't vomit. Don't
make a border on the bus.
Don't retch on the bus.
I will try not to retch.
Don't retch on the bus.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Thanks everyone for participating and having a look-see. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are. Bye-bye for now.